Hello, I'm Jonathan Mears, and I'm going to read a slightly abridged version of the opening chapter of my latest book, Noodle the Doodle Wins the Day, and it's called Exciting News. It was warm and sunny. The sky was blue, flowers were blooming, birds were singing, and bees were buzzing. Summer was on its way, but at Wiggly Primary, it was just another Thursday. "Good morning, everyone," said Mr. Reed. "Good morning, Mr. Reed," sang all the children together. "Woof," said Noodle the Doodle. "Woof, woof, woof." "What's that, Noodle?" said Mr. Reed. "I've got some exciting news to tell everyone." "Woof," said Noodle. His tail began wagging like a windscreen wiper. The children laughed. They liked it when Mr. Reed pretended to understand what Noodle was saying, and they liked it when Mr. Reed had exciting news too. "What is it, Mr. Reed?" said Lou. "It's Sports Day next Friday," said Mr. Reed. "Yeah!" sang all the pupils of Wiggly Primary. Well, nearly all the pupils. Sol didn't join in. He just remembered something that had happened at a sports day when he was very young. He'd been running in the egg and spoon race. He was winning, but then he tripped and fell over. He landed face first on the egg. The egg broke. Sol ended up with egg on his face. Everyone else laughed, but Sol didn't. He cried. "Something you'd like to share with the class?" said Mr. Reed. Sol shook his head. "Not really," he said. "OK," said Mr. Reed. "In that case, we need to start planning." Samir put his hand up. "Excuse me, Mr. Reed," he said. "Can grown-ups come and watch?" Samir spoke in a soft voice. He hadn't been at Wiggly Primary very long. He was still a bit shy. Mr. Reed smiled. "Of course they can, Samir," he said. Samir looked pleased. "Can Daniel come too?" Marty asked. "Daniel?" said Mr. Reed. Marty nodded. "Daniel the Spaniel," he said. "Oh, of course," laughed Mr. Reed. He'd forgotten that Marty had a puppy, which was amazing because Marty hadn't always liked dogs, or at least he didn't think he liked them. But then Noodle the Doodle had joined the class, and Marty had soon changed his mind. Now he loved dogs so much he had one of his own. "As long as he doesn't poo everywhere," said Shakira. "Can my grandpa come and watch, Mr. Reed?" asked Josh. Mr. Reed smiled. "Of course he can, Josh," he said. "As long as he doesn't poo everywhere," said Sol. Everyone laughed, even Mr. Reed. "Woof," said Noodle. "Woof, woof, woof." "Ah, yes," said Mr. Reed. "Thank you for reminding me, Noodle. There's something else I need to tell you." The pupils all looked at Mr. Reed. What was he about to say? "This year," said Mr. Reed, "it's going to be an alternative sports day."